Hello everyone, my name is Michaela Valletta, also known as the Body Scientist and Queen Lioness. And in case you don't know who I am, I have a background in exercise and sports science. I am a strength and conditioning specialist and a nutritionist. I'm also an Afro-diasporic dancer, a doula, and I teach a class. I've been teaching a class for the last 8 years called Sensual Strength Training, in which I teach women how to connect to and strengthen the muscles that support our sexual organs and our pelvic floor. And so I teach this through dance and strength exercises, internal and external, for our big and small muscles. Excuse the camera keeps falling. I apologize. And also with the use of yoni eggs or punani eggs or jade eggs. I myself have been using eggs for 10 years now, teaching my class for 8 years now, and there's so many things that I've learned from teaching women and working with eggs. However, over the past couple years, I've been really interested in, actually since 2011, I had been really interested in studying Mesoamerican abdominal massage, which at the time in 2011, there was only one main person who was teaching this, and she was the main one certifying, and she says that she learned from Mayans in a Mayan village, a woman named Rosita Arvigo. And so I really wanted to learn this, but something about her vibration didn't resonate with me. Like intuitively, I just felt like I really want to learn this. I really believe in this. But she wasn't the person that I felt like I was supposed to study with. I just felt like there has to be somebody else. So probably with this 2015, so probably around 2013, I came across what I thought was an organization called Indigimama, but she's actually one amazing woman from Long Beach, California, named Pankazani, and she teaches Mesoamerican deep abdominal massage. She's also an herbalist, and she calls them Sobadas. She's learned from her grandmother, and there's lots of wisdom within Mexico and Peru amongst the indigenous people. A lot of people look to India and China for that, and even Africa. But all indigenous people have indigenous medicine and have similarities and differences. Like, you know, when you study around the world, I study all peoples, not just Africans. I have a huge emphasis on my ancestral traditions and ways, whether it be foods and ways of healing, but I also look at the entire world. And as a strength and conditioning specialist, I look for the most effective exercises for things. You know, there's a lot of exercises that you can do for your abs. There's a lot of exercises you can do for your thighs and your glutes. But what are the most effective and functional? Is that's my approach to fitness and, you know, all of those things. So within, you know, the indigenous people, and Mexico in particular, I know that, Native Americans, they practicing deep abdominal womb massage, where you learn to palpate, feel if everything's in the right position, and if it's not, learning how to move it. I'm not sure if other traditions did that too. Every time I've seen it, it's been with Mesoamerican culture. So we have traditional Chinese medicine, and we have Mesoamerican traditional medicine, which we'll call MTM. I did hear a Nigerian friend of mine tell me that that was done, and then a Cameroonian Instagram friend of mine told me that her grandmother did that. So I would like to hear more stories from people around the world who practice this technique. However, I came across Pankazani in 2013, and I was like, I must study with her. She was the truth. You know, she talked about fermented foods, which most nutritionists don't speak about. Most health people, I see a lot of people talk about raw foods and eating raw vegetables, but they never talk about the importance of lactofermentation. Raw vegetables really aren't that healthy unless they're lactofermented, and I'll get into that in another video. But the fact that she talked about the importance of fermented foods, which is something I talk about a lot. Probiotics, I have videos on that. The rebozo, which is something that I also was studying for a while, the use of the rebozo. Took a couple of workshops with the amazing Gina Kirby. teaches a workshop called Let the Partner Do It. And so Pakistani had the rebozo on one hand, and she taught Sobadas, and so it was like this woman, you know. So I was in California, took a workshop with her, a short one, where we learned some basic Sobadas techniques, some basic womb massage techniques, and just in the little bit that I did of learning how to touch myself and palpate, feel where my uterus is and my ovaries and my fallopian tubes and things like that, I it was really emotional. It caused me to cry. And I've seen that happen before in my classes when women work with yoni eggs. I've seen it happen a lot for various reasons. I had never cried working with my eggs. But I felt that I had some things that were out of place from, you know, you could say a traumatic experience 4 years ago where I gave birth to a son and he didn't make it. And afterwards, I felt like, you know, my doulas and my midwife, they were kind of just like hands off, you know, didn't know what to say or do, and there was no support. I felt like my internal organs were not in the right place. I felt like things were out of place. And that's probably what sparked my interest in this, you know. So ever since then, I felt that way. So 2014 is when I took her first little mini workshop in LA. In the spring of 2014, maybe it was March. And just in that little bit, I had tears running down my eyes, and I you know, did another little mini training with her with somebody else, and she told me, oh, I'm doing a 3-day Sobadas workshop in April, so I did everything I had to do to come back to Long Beach, April 2014, to do this 3-day Sobadas workshop with her. And she was an amazing teacher, because it's one thing to be a good practitioner, it's another thing to be a good teacher. Some people are one or the other. She was both. And we learned so much. We spent 3 days, several hours, working on each other, learning how to palpate and feel, is our uterus in the right place? Is our ovaries in the right place? Like being able to tell what they feel like. You know, what do they feel like? Your colon. And how to move them into the right place. And it was an amazing experience. So then I went on to do an advanced Sobadas training with her, and her Mitrizi Concha workshop, where it's dealing with herbs in the womb, and a mixture of things. And then we ended up teaching together this year. In the spring of 2015, we did a workshop together called Mitriz Mística. It was a retreat in the southern coast of Costa Rica where we combined the two things that we do because they're very complementary. Now, getting more into this womb massage, like what I do as a strength and conditioning specialist, as someone who teaches, you know, women how to work with eggs, I teach exercises to help strengthen the muscles and get more control over the muscles, because you want to have strong muscles, you want to have control and a connection, but you also don't want to be too rigid and you don't want to be too loose. There's a fine balance between being too tight and rigid and being too flexible and loose. You have to have a balance there. And also, so I help, you know, the muscles, and having strong muscles help to hold things in place. But if things are out of place, they need to be put back into place. So if somebody has a weak back, I can give you exercises to help support your back, because muscles are shock absorbers. Muscles take the stress off of joints and bones. So I can give you exercises for that. But if your spine is out of place, a chiropractor is the only one that can help you with that. Chiropractors are the ones who physically touch you and readjust your spine. But if they readjust your spine and the muscles around it are not strong, it will go right back out of place again. So you keep going to the chiropractor, they keep adjusting, keeps going back out of place. So they go hand in hand, the positioning and then the strengthening. This is also important as it comes up when it comes to belly binding and stuff. After a woman has had a baby and she binds, you know, if I did a training with an organization called Sacred Pregnancy. It was pretty expensive, and they taught us how to belly bind, you know, how to wrap a woman's midsection after a baby to help support her, but they didn't talk about the fact that it's important to make sure that the internal organs are in the right place first, or else you can end up causing trouble to that woman. And so Pakistani was the first one who knew that actually mentioned that, and more confirmation that she was the truth. So, and I take what I do very, very seriously. There are a lot of people who think that, you know, there's a lot of fly-by-night trainers and fly-by-night nutritionists. Because of the internet, everybody thinks they're a health coach and they can advise people. And they don't have the in-depth experience of doing in-depth research and also working with clients personally over years. You know, Pakistani has had her hands on thousands of women's wombs. And I, over the past 15 years, have worked with thousands of women and men. And so that's also important. And I just really take what I do seriously, in terms of advising people. And I've dedicated my life to finding all the ways that we can take our body to its highest level. It's multifactorial, okay? So when you're dealing with holistic stuff, it's not just one thing, it's multifactorial. So going on with this, I learned a lot of things in these Sobadas workshops. Like, many women get told that their uterus is out of place. Like, they're tilted to the left a little bit, they're tilted to the right, they're tilted forward, they're tilted back. And in Western medicine, women are just told, oh yeah, it's tilted, it's not a big deal. So many women get told that, but it is a big deal, okay? In Mesoamerican medicine, it's known that our organs have spirits, and that when your womb is like its own chakra and spirit, and when it's out of place, you are off. Your center of balance is off. That's your center. And if the uterus is leaning a certain way, it could be putting pressure on your ovaries, and then maybe your ovaries are secreting hormones, but it's not getting to the brain. So then you end up with so then the body keeps secreting the estrogen because it's not getting to the brain. So the brain's not shutting it off, and then you end up with an estrogen dominant condition like fibroids or cysts, or painful menstrual cycles and dark blood coming out. There's something that's not normal that happens when the uterus is out of place. Or when women feel pain from ovulation, Bhagavani was like, you should not feel pain. Like, you might feel it, but you feel when you swallow, but it doesn't hurt when you swallow, And so the same thing with ovulation. When women are feeling ovulation pains, that's a sign of inflammation. When we feel pain in our body, it's a sign of inflammation. Like, if you touch your arm, like, I feel it, but I don't feel pain. I probably touch my arm and I'm like, ow, like it's sore or something. There's inflammation. That's what your body's telling you. So this has helped what I do. It's so complementary to what I do. And she's very good also at teaching you how to keep practicing this on yourself. And I have, I do it. And I'm still learning and studying with her, and I always will be. But I remember last winter I fell down a flight of stairs in the train station. It was like snowing and wet outside, and I slipped and fell really from the top to the bottom. Fell pretty hard. Now, my strong muscles probably kept me from the fall being a lot worse. Muscles are shock absorbers. But I felt like something was out of place, like my womb was out of place. I went home, lay down on my stomach, palpated, felt some things that, went to move, and I think I moved it correctly. Bangazani gives us, a lot of, she infuses us with confidence that, we won't hurt ourselves, and, that, because a lot of times women are scared to actually practice, because, like, what if I don't do it right? What if I hurt myself? Blah, blah, blah. But I think I did it right, okay? And I've had I've had different Sobadas with her, and her palpating me and telling me what's up. So, the last time she did a personal Sobada with me, she didn't tell me my womb was out of place, so I assume it did work. But I know it felt better. When you feel pressure on your pelvic floor, when you're feeling pain down here, and that's because your womb has dropped. And I won't get too much into that. I'm just going to say that I highly recommend taking her workshops. This is something that every woman should know. In my Sensual Strength Training class, and I also have a class called Sacred Yoni Power, you can find out more about both of those videos here on YouTube. I have two different YouTube pages. One is the Body Scientist 81, and the other one, I forget the name of it, but I have two pages. And so you can find both of my videos in Sensual Strength Training, and the other ones on Sacred Yoni Power. I'll put them below. But in my Sacred Yoni Power class in particular, we do womb massage, but it's more energetic, It's more of like a Qigong moving energy type of thing. And your intention, which is also important. We don't get into deeply palpating and moving things. So, and a lot of people who teach womb massage, it's more like womb meditations. But learning to actually palpate and feel, where's my uterus? Is my uterus over to the left? Is it centered? And can I feel the pulse of my ovaries? Because ovaries have a pulse. And then, where are my fallopian tubes, my bladder? So all of those things is very important for women's self-care at all ages, even if a woman has had a hysterectomy. It's very important because both working with the eggs and this massage, because after a woman has had a hysterectomy, sometimes the other organs fall into that space, and it can cause pelvic prolapse.